Hi everyone, Mr. Middleton. I want to bring you a video today about shading and value. That's what we're getting ready to get into. Well, we've been shading already, but now we're going to examine it a little more closely. The materials that we're going to need for this assignment, if you have a ruler, that would be cool. If not, you can just draw the straightest line that you can, or you could use the edge of a book or something like that. You'll need a pencil. If you have an ink pen, that would be great too, and an eraser as well, okay? For the pencil, I'm just using a regular number 2 pencil. Ink pen can be whatever kind of pen that you've got, okay? And if you don't have an ink pen, you can still do this with pencil as well, okay? So, shading and value explained. Basically, when we shade an object, or the definition of shading is the act of applying value to a surface or an object. The main shading styles and what you see in drawing are blending, hatching, cross-hatching, stippling, and scrumbling. And, well, what's the definition of value? Well, value, it's an element of art, which is one of our basic building blocks of everything that we see, like value, line, shape, form, color, texture, space, etc. Okay? So it's an element of art that deals with how much light a surface reflects. That could be a little bit of light or a lot of light, depending on the form and how the light is hitting it. Also, the darkness or lightness of a color, and we will get into that further along as we start using color. But right now, we're thinking about pencil shading and also a little bit with the ink pen. So to better understand value, okay, this is what, and these shading styles, and we'll apply these different shading styles to other things, and you've probably used the blending before. But in art, we think of value as being in a range from almost like a ruler, okay, where up here is 0, that would have no darkness or no shading at all. But as you go like through 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, okay, we go to 9, the values they gradually get darker. So in art, when we talk about a very, very dark value, we could think of it as being like a number 9. So we think of value in art that ranges from 0 to 9, okay? 9 being the darkest, 0 being the absolute lightest, okay? So we want to show or use these different shading styles to show that range of value. So this is what we'll do, and this is your assignment, okay? So let's use our sketchbooks long way, because, or your paper long way, that's so you can get your, what we're going to call a value scale going this way, okay? So we're not going to be drawing any shapes or forms, but we're going to be just applying the values for this. So first thing I want you to do, okay, is you're just going to draw a line. We're going to make kind of like a little grid, okay? And again, you could use a ruler for this if you want to. Mr. Middleton's videotaping with one hand, so it's hard for me to use the ruler. But we're just going to make a line, okay? And then we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We've got 5 shading styles. So we're going to write here blending, okay? And then just draw your line to the bottom of the paper, straight as you can make it. Again, if you got a ruler, that's great. If you're like me, you're having to use one hand. So blending. Then our next shading style is hatching. And again, this is about a 2-inch wide space, so about the same amount of space. Just draw you a line down to the bottom, okay? Our next shading style is cross-hatching. So we're going to write cross-hatching. Oop, my G's aren't doing too well. And just draw you a line down to the bottom. And we got a little more space here, so the next one will be stippling. So go ahead and write stippling. Okay, and then just draw us a line. Then we got a little bit of space here for our last one, and this one will be scrumbling. Okay, now down and now along one side, and you could do it over here or you could do it over here. What I want you to do is go ahead and put a 0 draw you a little line. And then a 1, draw you a line across. A 2, draw a line across. 3, draw a line across. 4, draw a line across. 5, and we'll go as far down as we can go. 6, we'll make them smaller. 7, 8, and then finally we got 9. As you can see, my grid isn't the best in the world, okay? So if yours isn't that good, you know, if it's kind of a little wiggly, that's okay. All right, so what we're gonna do now is apply the value, okay, using these different styles, but we're gonna gradually get darker as we go toward the bottom, okay? So 0 is nothing, but then it's gonna gradually get darker as we go down here to number 9, where this is the absolute darkest, okay? So blending is using the edge of the pencil lead, okay? So with blending, again, we don't use the point. We're going to use more of that edge of the pencil, okay? And then what we want to do is just gently let that surface texture of the paper take our graphite off. And again, I might have started a little darker than what I wanted to. But then again, blending is just little circles like this, little circles, little circles, okay? We try not to leave lines. And because this is 0, all right, I'm gonna blend a little bit of this up into 0, even lighter, okay? So that's my 1. Now I'm going to come down here to 2. And again, I'm going to use my blending style. Just small circles, small circles. Try not to leave lines. I'm going to do like this. But then I'm going to come back and I'm going to make 2 a little bit darker than 1. So I'm just going to come back and add a little more tone, a little more value to 2, and make it just a little bit darker than 1. Okay? Now, so that's 0, 1, 2. That's a little bit darker. Now I'm going to come down here to 3, and I'm going to make 3 again, this is using the edge of my lead, trying not to leave any lines. Okay. But now I'm going to come back and maybe change direction a little bit, but I'm going to make 3 darker than 2. See, like this? Okay, and then I'll just keep going, making them get darker and darker. Hatching, this is where I would use my pen, okay? Now with hatching is shading using parallel lines, okay? Well, I'm going to use my pencil for this. Hatching is using parallel lines, okay? So, again, we're thinking about the value getting darker. So, I'm going to come about halfway, and I'm just going to leave 0 blank. But what I'm going to do, I'm going to use horizontal lines, and I'm just going to make a line that goes from here, like this, like this, like this, like that. So the lines with hatching, they don't need to look like they crisscross anywhere. We want them to look parallel. And the more space you have between the lines, the lighter it's going to be. So to make them darker, we just need to add more lines. So down here, the 2, I'm going to come down here, but I'm going to add an extra line. Okay, you see, you just add more lines and you reduce that amount of space as you go down. So we're not putting more pressure necessarily on the pencil, we're just putting in more lines. Okay? Now, for cross-hatching, oh, and let's put just a couple of lines up here again, so we can see the change. So it's starting to get darker again as we go down, okay? Cross-hatching, okay? Cross-hatching is, okay, basically it's crisscrosses. So again, I like to start in the 1. So let's just make like, with this one, I'm going to make diagonal lines. Now I'm going to come back and add some lines like that. So that's the 0 and that's 1, so that's kind of light. So in here, this is my second one. I'm going to put those cross lines again. But this time I'm going to add a few more lines going this way. See, now that looks a little bit like it's darker than that because there's more lines. I'm going to go down, one more. Keep that space kind of the same in between them, and then I'm going to add even more lines. So see, it's starting to get dark because the more lines you have and the less space between the lines, the darker it's going to look. Okay? Stippling, and let's put a few up here. There we go. Stippling is little dots. And you could be doing this with ink pen if you wanted to. Mr. Middleton's just going to go ahead and use a pencil. So we just put enough dots in there to kind of fill up the spot. Stippling is shading with little dots, okay? And then to get it darker, we come down and we just add more dots than what we had previously, okay? And then we just continue that going down, okay? And then scrumbling is kind of like blending, and this is where your ink pen would really come in handy. Let me see if it's working. Scrumbling is just kind of doing doodle marks like this. That's my one. And for the second one, I'm just going to have a higher concentration of line over line doodle marks like that. And then make them even more concentrated. Okay, awesome. I'm going to post this to Canvas and I'll be talking about this in class. Have a good day.